And then we'll start off with the third step prayer there, Rob. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Leo. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And my name is Rob Cam, a recovered alcoholic, and we're going to start off with the third step prayer, which is on page 63 of your big book. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
All right. Thank you, Rob. We are near the top of page 82. We'll go ahead and get started right there, if you will, Rob. Perhaps there are some.
You got it, Leo. Top of page 82. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise such an intimate situation. It may be that both sides will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we are dealing with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Good generalship may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank rather than risk a face-to-face combat.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is basically talking about a transgression of maybe an affair, something to that effect, where there was a extracurricular relationship, and whether or not that needs to be talked about straight on, or if we can just move on and let it be in the past. So I think there's a couple of things here. One is that's really, really hard for the person that's not the one that's being transgressed against, is probably having a hard time not knowing everything. And it's also destroys a bit of trust, and so that's also a difficult thing. But the other side of it is that the person that may have had the the relationship has to be truly and honestly beyond it, and it has to be behind them. So there's really a lot of stuff that's going on here, and it's a really hard um, situation to be in. But in the end, if it's at all possible that things can just be left alone and moved on, then that would probably be the most desirable situation. However, it just makes it, like I said, really tough for both to be able to move on. And a lot of it has to do with the trust and the not knowing. You know, you'd think that maybe that getting everything out in the open might be the cleansing thing to do. But again, it might do more harm than good. And situation really is a difficult one to be in. Rob?
Yeah, and the only thing I want to bring out is on page 74. Okay? There is a must there. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Remember, considerate of others. Okay? We have to think of other people. Before we were selfish and self-centered. Now we're thinking about other people. We don't want to hurt other people needlessly. Okay, we're on page 82. Hi, Kate. Welcome. If we have had, if we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is to keep sober. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated. Passing all understanding as the patient mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. One is that you know, that's a simplistic kind of way of looking at it. If all I need to do is stay sober, the fact is we are afflicted with the human condition. So there's a lot of things that we also have done that we would probably otherwise do even if we weren't drinking. So there's some of that. The other thing is that there's a lot to make up. I know I fell prey to the 2 week. I've been sober for 2 weeks, so all should be forgiven at this point. And you don't take years of abuse and things that have happened that are bad and just wrap them all up in a 2 week sobriety checkpoint and then say everything is all for the good and we should just move on. I know alcoholics would like for people to do that, but uh, um, they're not across the line yet, and there is yet a lot of things that needs to be done in order to get to a good place. I know for a fact that my wife has held my feet to the fire, which has been good. On the one hand, two, I have realized after time, and did take some time, that I owe a lot back and have been working hard to do that. The There's a lot of respect, a lot of consideration, and again, a lot that's owed back to the people that we have been so bad to because of our alcoholism. Rob?
Yeah, I put something in the chat, and I'm just going to read it out. Elimination of the drinking is but a beginning. To be happy, joyous, and free requires that we used to think one way, and now we think another. For this to happen, you don't just do the steps, you live them. Okay? This is a principle we must learn how to practice in all our affairs. Remember, drinking is just, one part of it. Okay? Now we have to change. Okay? 180 degrees. Okay? As I said earlier, we were selfish and self-centered. Okay? Now we're trying to be there for other people. How can I help you? Okay? Not what can you do for me, which was my thinking before. So now we have to do these things. Okay? How can I help Lisa today? How can I help Karen? Okay? These are things that we've changed. Okay? And if we don't practice these things, if we think that the elimination of our drinking is enough and that's all we have to do, we're sadly mistaken, because if we don't change, we're going to go back to doing what we did before. And what was that? Drinking to excess. And we wouldn't be in this Zoom room right now if we were happy with the way our old life was. So please keep that in mind. We are on page 82, everybody. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. He is like the farmer who came up out of the cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?"
Yeah, what a paragraph. And it's one that a lot of people will come back to. I know I have. With regard to the first couple of sentences, the alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. And that's so true. It is a difficult place to be for an alcoholic, and for the families of an alcoholic, the friends of an alcoholic. And truly, hearts are broken and sweet relationships are dead. The alcoholic being selfish and inconsiderate is unthinking, and again, we go back to this idea that if all I need to do is just be sober, and that should take care of everything. A couple of weeks under my belt, and I've got this thing licked. And the fact is, there is so much more, as I've said before, that needs to be done and made up for. And there will be a long road to recovery with regard to others and their trust that the alcoholic is actually sober and is on a solid path to recovery. So we're getting into some ideas here with regard to the idea that The alcoholic wants things to be fast and made up for and done with and move on. It's indicative of that alcoholic mind and thinking that they want things to be behind them as soon as possible. And the other folks certainly want things behind them, but they aren't going to be so quick to forget, and that's important. Rob?
Yeah, the analogy of once bitten, twice shy. You know, you've done this before and it didn't work. So now you want me to trust you after you've quit drinking for a week. You know, we're going to get into that right now. Okay, top of page 83, everybody. Yes, there's a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A remorseful mumbling that we're sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I've written down here for this particular paragraph, and kind of it goes into this, and it's being we sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, and really as they see it, because it's important that you're focusing on them and not yourself. And you also don't want to criticize, but there's really three questions that could be asked here, and that is are there any more harms I'm unaware of that you would want to ask them to get out and in the open? The second question might be is do you need to tell me how this has hurt you? Because a lot of times people need to express to the alcoholic how things have happened and what it has, the impact that it's had. And then three, is there anything I can do to fix it? And when I say, is there anything I can do to fix it, we're obviously talking about legal and appropriate things that can be done to fix it. But those are three questions as you sit down with the family and friends that you would want to begin the conversation with. And it certainly does start to help open up the conversation. These questions are very good ones to kind of break the ice and get things moving. But again, what we're trying to do is hear and listen to what they have to say, absorb what they have to say, and then take that and apply whatever is necessary from praying to our higher power as to what needs to be done in order to fix whatever that might be. Rob?
Yeah, I just put in the chat, what are amends according to the big book? On page 76, it says repair the damage done in the past. On page 76 again, to sweep away the debris that is accumulated. And remember, when we talked about debris last week, debris on my side of the street. Okay, I have to deal with my side of the street. If I'm worried about your side of the street, I'm not paying attention to mine. I'm paying attention to you. Okay, page 77, to set right the wrong. On page 77 again, to straighten out the path. 77 again, to sweep off our side of the street. On page 81, to admit our fault. On page 82, making good. And then what we just read at the top of page 83, reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. A mumbling, okay, it's not going to do it. Remember the adage that our friend Bill from New Jersey always says, if I'm driving down the street and a squirrel runs out in front of me, we have a lot of squirrels in Canada here, so I'm going to use a squirrel as a reference, runs out in front of my car and I swerve and I take out your fence. I don't get out of my car, knock on your door and say, you know what, a squirrel ran in front of my car. I'm sorry, but your fence is destroyed. And I leave. No, what I have to do, amends is restitution. Okay, I have to fix your fence, whether I pay for it or whether I get out there with my little hammer. I'm not very handy, so I would probably have to pay somebody to do it. But I have to make the fence back, put it back to the way it was. And that right there is the difference. Where in my past, I probably would have got in my car and just took off, and hopefully you didn't notice that it was my car that hit your fence. Okay, page 83. The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not to urge them. We should not talk incessantly to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone.
Yeah, that skeptic's going to hang around for a while. So there's a couple messages here. One is not to harp on the family and friends about your spiritual life and the changes that you're making regarding that particular idea. And two is that you should actions speaking louder than words. And the idea here is, and this is something that I've heard from others, and that is that it's great that you're telling me, but show me that you're going to do this, and we'll see over time if in fact you haven't made those changes and if you're going to live those changes. So really important to, like it says, we have to live it. Not just say it, not just read it, not just think it, but to actually incorporate it into our lives and live our day to day with the spiritual life in mind and in our hearts and getting it there. Rob?
Yeah, they will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. Show me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me you've changed. Show me. Okay? And that's what it's all about. You know what? We can talk till we're blue in the face. But until people see that we have changed, nothing's going to change. Okay? There are maybe some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. And there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. As God's people, we stand on our own feet. We don't crawl before anyone.
All right, so couple of things here. One, you may never be able to fix everything, and that's probably true for all of us. And that is, certain things are just not going to get fixed or made right. However, I would say that if you are making other things right and trying your best to get as close as you can, then that action that you take is going to be noticed, and it's going to be respected. And on top of that, we may not be able to get to everyone as soon as we would like, but in order to live the life, we're always trying. And when we get an opportunity, we take it. And if we never get the opportunity, at least we've been cognizant of it, and we'll try. The idea here too is that once we are in the position of making something right, we don't want to we don't want to advertise and take credit for. We just want to make things right and do it in a manner in which it was focused on the individual and not on ourselves. And we don't have to apologize for doing what we're trying to do, because after all, doing the right thing is something that you should feel very good about and not embarrassed by. Rob?
Now, let's get into the promises. The bottom of page 83, everybody. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We'll suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. We've got the ninth step promises as Rob just read through them, and if I think this first sentence is very appropriate, and that is, if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we'll be amazed before we are halfway through. And what they mean by that, and we really haven't started our ninth step just yet. We're just talking about what the results will be if we actually look at it appropriately. And the idea here is that these things will happen once we start our ninth step. And in our ninth step, before we're even halfway through our ninth step, we will be amazed at the what is actually happening. You shouldn't regret this. And the idea here is that really good feeling that you're going to have from helping others and doing good by others. If you're so kind of a spoiler alert here, we wait until our 11th step before we actually start our ninth step, because we're going to be looking for guidance via our 11th step on how to conduct our lives and complete our ninth step. So we're talking about our ninth step, but we haven't actually done our ninth step yet. Again, the idea here is we're not talking about ourselves, we're talking about others. We're not talking about benefiting ourselves, we're talking about benefiting others. Rob?
30 pages before this, we were talking about the bedevilments. And the bedevilments are things that have been, crippling us. Well, one of the reasons why maybe we drank is because of the bedevilment. Now they're talking about promises. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Okay? We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Now we're looking to help others. Okay? That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Okay? Why is the world against me? Okay? Why am I so useless? Why can't I help other people? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why don't I have the new car? Why don't I have that? I'm not worried about that anymore. Okay? We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. How can I help Marcus out today? What can I best do for him? $1 million would be nice, but I can't do that for you, Marcus. I apologize for that. Okay, just to let you down. But the thing is that, you know what? Maybe I can give Marcus a phone call and say, how you doing, brother? Are things going well for you today? And maybe he's got a problem on his mind or something, or he just thinks nobody cares. But that one phone call shows him that somebody does care about him and might change his day. Self-seeking will slip away. Okay, instead of thinking about myself all the time, okay, what can I do for somebody else today? Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Selfishness and self-seeking will slip away. Okay, I'm not thinking about myself. Okay, I'm thinking about what I can bring. Okay, if I go to a party, it's what can I bring to the party, not what can I take away from the party. Okay, oh, there's a great bottle of whiskey in behind the bar. I can, drink that. No, what can I do for the party and make it more joyous, more free? Okay, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. I've stopped playing God in my life. Why? Because I didn't do a good job. My life was in shambles. Okay, now when I'm unsure of something, what do? I ask God, what can I do in this situation? When fear crops up, what do? God, take away this fear. Give me the strength to enjoy the time that I have here. Okay, all these things. Okay, whenever I'm feeling negative thoughts or anxiety, okay, God takes this away so that I can enjoy this moment. so I can have fun, be happy, joyous. Remember, God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. He doesn't want us to be miserable and unhappy. He wants us to enjoy life, to help each other out, to make things just a little bit easier as we go through our day. Marcus, I'm working on that $1,000,000 for you, brother. So I just want you to know that. Okay, we're on page 84, everybody. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code.
There's a lot here. Several of the steps are referred to in this particular paragraph. This thought brings us to step 10. We continue to take personal inventory and continue to set any new mistakes right as we go along. And the idea here on step 10 is to, as soon as we have made a mistake, we own up to it. We talk to the person that we have made the mistake with, and we make it right, whatever it might be that we need to do in order to make it right. We do suffer from the human condition, so there is going to be times when we're angry. There's going to be times when we feel some resentment, and those are times that we need to sit back and talk to our higher power, find the guidance that we're seeking, and then make sure that we get rid of that anger or those resentments and be able to move on. And really, the focus here is how can we be of helpful? How can we be of assistance to others? What can we do to help others? Rob?
Yeah. Now, step 10 says what to watch for. And all these things are in the chat so that you can, grab them or take a look at them. Because trying to remember all these things sometimes is difficult. But what to watch for? Step 10 says watch out for 1, selfishness. 2, dishonesty. 3, resentment. And 4, fear. Okay? And what do we do when these things crop up? We ask God to remove them at once. We don't ask God to take them away tomorrow or the day after. God, please take it away now. Okay? We discuss them with someone immediately. Okay? Make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Remember before, if we made a mistake, we try to brush it under the rug and forget about it. I'm sure it's okay. No, what do we do today? If I step on Kate's toes, accidentally, I say, Kate, I'm so sorry for that. Are you okay? Instead of just walking away and as Kate is bent over, holding on to her toes. I deal with it now. I don't let it become a resentment, because what's the number one offender for alcohol? Resentment. That's right. And then number 4, turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Remember when Bill was feeling resentment and self-pity, what did he do? Bill went to the hospital, the town's hospital, to help somebody else. And that's what it's all about. When Bill's business deal fell through and he was at the Mayflower Hotel and had $10 in his pocket, he didn't know how his hotel bill was going to be paid. What did he do? He went to the phone, called Reverend Tunks, who gave him Henrietta Seiberling's number and a few other people, but it turns out, that he ended up getting Henrietta's, who put him in touch with Dr. Bob. Bill could have just as easily gone to the bar, but he chose to go to the phone. Okay, do we go right? Do we go left? It's a decision we have to make. Okay, what decision are we going to make? Because life is not easy at times. Okay, things happen. Okay, people die, people get sick. things don't go our way. We don't get the job that we anticipated. Now when things like that happen, I go, God, I know you got something better for me in mind. I didn't get that job, okay, because you got something better for me. Okay, I'm thinking about the positive instead of the negative. How am I going to pay my bills today? How am I going to put food on the table? You know, these are things that I know I'm going to be taken care of if, condition, if I do God's work well. Okay, I do what He wants me to do, not what Rob wants, because Rob wants the easy way. You know, I just want everything to come easy, easy and cheap. Okay, but it takes work. Remember on page 77, okay, to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and the people around me. It takes effort on my part because it's not always easy for me to do that. Okay. But as it says, I think on page 120 or 121, something like that, if I mine it for my whole life, I will have a limitless load, you know? So happier than I'll ever have been. Bottom of page 84. We have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. This is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. This is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition.
Yeah, and this paragraph really is that paragraph within the book where we actually refer to as being recovered. We are recovered at this point, and this is where it talks about the fact that we've been through the steps, we've gone through, and we are actively working on our step 9. We've got steps 11 and 12 that we're asking for guidance and then providing that guidance to help others. We are correcting any wrongs that we might have that are that come up, and we are resisting any of the resentments and the anger, and we will be more normal than we've ever been, at least for a long time. But nonetheless, where it says instead the problem has been removed, is a great sentence for us to refer to as being recovered. Um, and it's a good place to be. This is a great paragraph to describe being recovered. Rob?
Yeah, I just put in the chat, you know, a lot of people have difficulty staying recovered. Okay. Because we, and what I put in the chat is we're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And we will always have the allergy. If we take any alcohol whatsoever into our body, it's going to trigger the allergy, and off to the races we go. We can't control the amount. Okay. So it says in the book, the main problem stems in our mind, not in our body. So if we can stop our mind from taking that first drink, we'll be okay. Okay. So the spiritual malady is overcome. We straighten out mentally and physically. Okay. If I can keep in close contact, and I always put my two fingers together, God and me. If I can stay like that, I'll be okay. But if I stop doing the things that make me spiritually fit and it starts to separate, how far apart does it have to go until the obsession of the mind will return? I don't know, and I don't want to find out. Okay, so I want to stay in fit spiritual conditions. Okay, now there are many things here. Many, we have ceased fighting anything. Number one, for by this time sanity will have returned. 2, we will seldom be interested in liquor. 3, if tempted, we will recoil as if from a hot flame. Number 4. Number 5, we will react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. 6, we will see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. Okay, we can be where liquor is being served. Remember, at Dr. Bob's house, him and Bill had liquor there. Why? To take the green recruit through. Okay, they would have to sometimes give liquor to somebody they were trying to dry out. Why? Because if they didn't give them liquor, they would go into delirium tremens. They would go into seizures, alcohol withdrawal. Okay, we don't have to do that nowadays. We have detox centers that we take people to in hospitals, etc., and rehab facilities where they will monitor these people for us. But we can go to places if we're in fit spiritual condition where alcohol is being served, and it doesn't bother us, or it shouldn't. If it does bother you, get out of that situation and redouble your efforts. Okay.
Yep.
I had a deal with my wife. Okay, that if I was feeling uncomfortable in a situation, okay, that I could leave, no questions asked. Okay, it took an awful lot of pressure off because, I didn't have to explain, well, why are you, and then she would be asking the question, well, why are you feeling that way? I don't understand it, and get it. No questions asked, just you can leave the situation. I understand. Okay, but these are things we have to talk to our partners about. Okay, we have to sit down and let them know that, you know what, if I'm feeling that way, I need to take myself out of that situation. Oh, okay, I understand. If I don't mention that beforehand and I just mention it at the time, well, why do you have to? I don't understand that. These are normal questions for a non-alcoholic. They don't understand how the urge will come upon us, the insanity of the moment. Okay, so that's why we try to sit down with our spouse or our partner and get these things out in the open so that it's understood. It takes a great deal of pressure off. Okay, we are on page 85, everybody. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along the line all we wish. It is the proper use of will.
Right. So it's great to sit back, say we've accomplished things, and then find ourselves at a disadvantage or at a deficit because we've not done the work, in that we've not continued the work. We've just stopped the work there. Okay, we've accomplished what we set out to do. The steps are done. I'm done and I'm recovered. That's not the way we want to look at it. We are headed for trouble if, in fact, you do that, and if you do think that. It is a daily reprieve, as Rob has said, and it is a day-to-day action that needs to happen. Every day is a new and better day to accomplish the right things, and you need to incorporate your higher power into all of your activities and actually live this action instead of just paying it lip service. So it's got to be a constant reminder that you've got to do the right thing by others, and in doing so, you will give yourself what is necessary in order to not only recover but stay recovered. Rob?
Yeah, step 11 really goes into this, praying only for God's will. What is God's will for us? Well, that's why, we use step 11, prayer and meditation, to find out what God's will is for us. What does he want us to do? What should I do in this situation or that situation, God? Meditate, okay, to find out the answer. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action.
Yeah, this isn't really suggestions. These are actually things that need to happen. And getting that strength and inspiration and direction from your higher power is vital to your success. You have to be very vigilant and detail oriented when you're doing this and asking for that guidance. And this going into, as Rob had said, the step 11, and we'll be starting to foster a stronger and better relationship with with your higher power, and there we are coming up on our step 11 and doing our step 11, and that's that guidance that we're asking for in listening to what that higher power has to offer. Rob?
Yeah, we're going to get into step 11 right now. And, Bill from New Jersey he always talks about growth and maintenance. We don't want to maintain, we want to grow. We constantly want to grow. We never want to remain stagnant. We're never at a point, okay, where we're just maintaining. Okay. Remember, in order for a garden to grow, you have to maintain it. You have to take the weeds out, or else you're not going to get new growth. Okay. The weeds will choke out whatever's trying to grow. So therefore, we're always trying to grow. Okay. We're never going to be perfect. Okay. If anybody ever thought they were going to be perfect, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not going to be perfect. Kate, you're darn close. I must admit that. But we're going to make mistakes. Okay. These, as my friend Art always says, step 10 is a great safety net. Okay. Because what it does is it catches us when we make a mistake or things aren't going our way. What do I do? Well, we go to step 10. Okay. And we think back, what do I do? I got a resentful thought. Okay. Well, what do I do? Okay. Well, I pray for that person. Okay. We have tools. We have a spiritual toolbox that we have been given. It's up to us to use the tools. Okay. Well, do I need a screwdriver or do I need a hammer? Okay. So we have to determine, that's our will. Okay. Of what do I use at this moment? I have fear. What do I do? I pray to God. Take this fear away. Okay. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions.
Yep. So we're at step 11. We're talking about step 11 and this prayer and meditation. It's not just enough to give thanks and it's you've got to reflect on your day and think about what you have done and what you might have done better, and then what you can actually do the next day in order to make it even better than the day before. But you've got to look at it enthusiastically. This is something that is good and vital, and it takes some time. It takes practice. You have to work at it. The idea here is that you're not going to be perfect at it, and you're going to need some good listening skills and really try to apply what you hear in moving forward. Rob?
Okay, so let's get into our step 11, what we do. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making a review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken.
Right. So we're talking about at night. This is the part where we've talked about not just giving thanks and moving on from there. You've got to actually reflect on your day and see where you've done things that you could have done better, things that didn't go quite right. And at the same time, I think it's important to note where you have actually done what you had intended to do and set out to do, and the right things that you've been able to accomplish on behalf of others. And the idea here is that there's going to be times where you resort to thinking about yourself, you're selfish about it, and that's the time that you want to think to correct and really turn the focus back over to others. You let go of anything that was that didn't go quite right. You ask for forgiveness, you move on, and you kind of cleanse the end of the day, and um, um, take those lessons learned and correct and move forward. You don't have to carry it anymore. You let go of it each day, which is kind of nice because you kind of get a clean slate before you go to bed. And when you wake up the next morning, everything is behind you. This is actually at that point where you are just getting ready to do your step 9. So we're finally at step 11, and this is where you ask for that guidance. So we'll get into that now. Rob?
Yeah, the whole thing is, was I God-based or was I Rob-based? Was I doing what I wanted or was I doing what God wants? So I'm looking over my day and going, where did Rob show up today? Or was Rob doing what God wanted to do? Okay? Did I have my humility? These are things we have to really think over, and just review our day. Oh, you know what? I didn't use step 10 today, and I owe Allie an apology because, I accidentally knocked over his coffee, and he wasn't there at the time, and I didn't clean it up. I just left it like that. Rob showed up, so Rob has to make amends. But I review my day. Was I selfish? Was I resentful? Was I dishonest? Was I afraid? Was I these things? So I have to take these into consideration and make amends if needed be. Make the apology. Make the restitution. Do whatever needs to be done. Okay? Was I loving and kind, or did I flip off that driver who cut me off? On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculty with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives.
Right. So we're not thinking of ourselves. We're thinking of others. We're not thinking of what we can do to get over on somebody. We're thinking about what we can do to help somebody. We're going to be on a much higher level of thinking, and it's going to feel probably a little awkward at first when you're basically trying to focus on other people. And because you've got a clean slate, because you've done a good step 11 the evening prior, you've got a clean slate, and you don't have to feel bad about anything, and you want to clear out any ulterior motives that you might be thinking about, and clear that up. This is such a good step. It's really neat when you take this time in the morning to try to plan your day. I do the best I can with this. I'll admit that I still work at it. I look out and see what I can do for the day, how I'm going to conduct myself, and I try to go about doing that. So this is a great place to actually set that up. And it's also where you ask for that guidance that you need in order to complete something with regard to your step 9. Rob?
Yeah, when I wake up in the morning, okay, I'm not God. I remind myself that I am not God. Okay? God's up there. I need to do his work. I need to do his work well. So I take myself out of the picture, okay, and let his will come up into me. So, Leo, you want to bring in Mr. Bill now?
I sure do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi, this is Bill from New Jersey. Thanks a lot, guys. Good job today. A lot of information here. We touched on step 9, on 10, and now on 11. And all of these steps have some good information in them. And we started on step 9, and you mentioned that there's 3 questions you can ask people. That's a really good idea. That stuff isn't in the book, but it's a real good idea. And most people that go through this process, they go along with that. They ask the other person, are there any more harms that I'm unaware of? Because a lot of times when we were drinking, we were in blackouts or whatever, and we don't even know half of the stuff that we did to people. So it's a good idea to find out, you know, when you're trying to make amends to somebody, every single thing that we did. If there's anything else we did that we're unaware of, we think we did one thing, maybe we did 5 things. You know, so it's a good idea to ask them so you can find out what they did. And then you can ask them if they need to tell us how it hurt us, how we hurt them. Because that's what most people want to do that's what they want for amends. They want to unload on you. They want to get it off of their chest. They want to just tell you off a little bit. So they need to tell you what you did that hurt them. And most people are satisfied just when they get that off of their chest and they get to chew you out a little bit. So that's part of our amends. We have to sit there and take it. We got to shut up and take it and let them chew us out. And then we can ask them, what can I do to make this right? And write that down and go back and talk to your sponsor about it. Because remember, we're not going to do anything that's inappropriate or illegal, and you don't know what another person is going to tell you that they want you to do. They might want you to go buy them some kind of illegal drugs or something, or we don't get involved in any of that kind of stuff. We stay out of that. Or they might want you to do something that's inappropriate. So before you even do anything, go back and discuss it with your sponsor before you do what somebody that's not in the program tells you to do, because there are some things that we're not supposed to do. And then it gave us these promises in here. And like it was mentioned, the promises are the opposite of the bedevilments. The bedevilments that were back on page 52, that's when we're unrecovered. We're just up to step 2 yet. And by the time we get to these promises and we're halfway through step 9, we should be recovered at this point. That's why we start to get those promises, because at this time we're recovered. We've started to have a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. In fact, back in step 5, it says that's when we begin to have a spiritual experience. So if we've gone through this process the way it's in this book, by the time we get to step 9, we should have at least begun to have a spiritual experience. And the promises that are in step 9 are actually what happened when you have your spiritual experience. You start to get those things. And they don't always come at once. Sometimes they take a while. Then it moves on to step 10. And I like step 10. I think step 10 is one of the best steps in here because it's actually got all the rest of the steps in it. When you go through step 10 and you read this page and a half here, it makes a reference to all 12 of the steps. So you could actually use step 10, if you want to call it a safety net, or it's like a mini program going through step 10. The first paragraph mentions 8 different steps, or references 8 different steps right in the first paragraph. It says, this brings us to step 10. So it's talking about step 10 here. And then down towards the end of the paragraph, it says, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's a mini step 4. That's the same exact things that we did when we were in step 4. It says, when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. That's what we did in step 6 and step 7. We asked God to take away our defects or our shortcomings. And that's what these things are. That's the bad stuff, and we're asking God to remove it. And then it says we discussed it with someone immediately. That's a reference to step 5. So we're supposed to talk to somebody about it to make sure we got it right, and this way we get some humility out of it. And then it says we make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. And when we made amends, that's step 8 and step 9. First, we make a list of who we have to make amends to. Then in step 9, we make the amends. So he's mentioning all these different steps here. Then it says, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we could help. That's a reference to step 12. So Bill's got all the steps here condensed into this 10th step. So basically, when you're going through this, if you do the 10th step every day, it's almost like you're doing the whole program. And that's basically what we're supposed to live in. We're supposed to use the principles of this program to incorporate them into our daily life so that we can stay better. You know, when we do step 4 and 4 through 9, that's about cleaning house and that's about getting better. When you do step 10, that's about keeping your house clean and staying better. So we do the process in the beginning, not just to get better, but so we can learn how to do it. And then we do step 10 so we can incorporate it into our lives on a daily basis. So every time that we make a mistake or we do something wrong, we can fix it right away. We don't have to carry it around with us where it snowballs out of control and then we wind up getting drunk over it. And then it's got the promises in step 10. And like was mentioned, that's really a description of being recovered. Because at this point, we should be recovered. We should have had some kind of a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience by this point. If we didn't, that means we missed something somewhere in the previous steps. And then we move on to step 11. And step 11 talks about on page 86, says when we retire at night. That's where step 11 starts, according to this book. We start it when we retire at night. We're supposed to review our day. That means we look over our day and see what we did, whether we did the right thing or the wrong thing. And it asks us 7 questions in that paragraph. It asks us, were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? That's the same thing that it told us to watch out for in step 10. So basically, step 11, you're asking yourself, did I look for this stuff? Did I watch out for this stuff in step 10? Did I do my step 10 correctly today? If you didn't do step 10, it's going to be hard for you to do step 11 because step 11 is basically asking you, did you do step 10? Did you look out for this stuff during the day? And when it cropped up, did you ask God to take it away or talk to somebody about it? Or do you owe somebody an apology? So these steps go hand in hand. They go back and forth with each other. If you didn't do step 10, step 11 is going to be a little bit harder for you to do. So you're supposed to do 10 first and then move on into 11 because they go back to back. They go hand in hand with each other. And one step leads you right into the other. And then he's going to give us all different ways here to do this. And we didn't really get into all of step 11, but basically step 11 is just using prayer and meditation to help you get through the day. And the easiest way that I found to pray, when you wake up in the morning, you say please, and when you go to bed at night, you say thank you. You don't have to make a big involved crazy thing over it. If you want to use formal prayers, that's fine. If you need help during the day, ask the guy upstairs for help. That's really what it comes down to. In other words, we're not running the show. He's running the show, and we're supposed to ask for help. That's pretty much all I got. Thanks a lot for letting me share.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Bill. Thank you, Rob. If we'll go ahead and close out with the Serenity Prayer, please, sir.
Okay. The Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.